Wagwan, my loves. It's Knowledge Butterfly. As always, sending you guys out peace, blessings, love, and abundance. Today, before I get started, I definitely want to big up Dr. Layla Africa. He made his transition, and I think it was on, because what's today, Monday? I think it was yesterday or Saturday that he made his transition. Whatever day it was, I definitely want to send out love and appreciate. Oh, actually it was, see, these days are running together for me. It was yesterday, because today is the 23rd. So it was on the 22nd, which was 22, master number, which is the master builder. All right. So he transcended on the master builder day, which means that he had become the master builder. So he was able to go up, and ascend with the other ascended masters who came down to this plane to teach us so that we can grow and help us get through our spiritual journey. He definitely was one that dealt with health, which is one of my passions. And he dealt with it on a holistic level, which is also one of my passions. I'm all about any teacher that's teaching you about the mental health, the spiritual health, and the physical health, and how all of those tie into one another. And if you don't have your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, if you don't have those four things in balance and in alignment, you're definitely going to deal with a lot of stress, anxiety, and all those things, and you won't be able to actually live a wealthy life. And wealth means your mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health as a whole. That's a holistic way of looking at wealth. Okay, so definitely big him up and shout him up and thank him for the gifts that he bestowed upon us while he was here, and for walking in his soul's purpose. All right, so now I'm gonna jump into the purpose of me doing this video. So I wanted to continue to expand off of the video where I talked about the coronavirus being a spiritual attack, and talking about it on a spiritual level, not just on a physical level. I feel that a lot of the information that's being put out there is being put out there based upon the physical stuff. And we understand that the physical is something that we do have to be aware of, and we do have to observe those things. However, it doesn't mean that we have to become a part of the pandemonium and all of the other madness that's going on in this world, because we definitely understand that we are in this world, but we are not of this world, so that we have to learn how to be the observer, so that we can definitely be prepared and plan for ourselves. However, that we can also make sure that we're keeping ourselves mentally, spiritually, emotionally focused on what is important. And what's important is working on your inner self. Okay, so first and foremost, this is a time for inner reflection. This is a time that a lot of people are being forced to either work from home or forced to just stay at home because their jobs have shut down and they're unable to, work or whatever. So children are at home instead of being at school. So people over the last, probably like 4 or 5 decades, definitely 4 decades, we've been dealing with the mothers not being in the home. And the reason why I say 4 decades is because I am definitely at that age where my mother was not in the home. I am 41 years old, so I was born in 1978, and during that time the mothers were starting to get into work, because in the 70s we had the feminist movement really strong and heavy. I'm pretty sure it started in the late 60s, because it was a movement that was implanted into the social consciousness in order to take away from the civil rights movement or the human rights movement of the melanated people. So that was a distraction to get the Black families separated. So that's really where a lot of this what's going on right now is trying to get us back to, because we're in a 4 of Hearts year, which is dealing with families, and more specifically the melanated families. So this is definitely dealing with that 40-year thing, 40-year, and we also got the 400 years of slaves. So we're dealing with the 40-year of the melanated family being under serious attack, of being separated, where the all-out war was waged. Okay, not saying that the civil rights wasn't doing it, but what really broke it up was dealing with the whole feminism thing. All right, because feminism took away from what was the fact that melanated men and women were both dealing with racism. So it didn't matter whether you were a man or woman, you were still being brutalized. Okay, so getting into this 4 Hearts year, well, now what they're doing is they're waging a war on the union of a man and a woman coming together, and finding that whole family connection. It's dealing with trying to block men and women's kundalini energy from rising. All right, this is an all-out attack from it. So we know this virus is called corona, and I did a breakdown of the word corona and the fact that the root word of corona is core. All right, and we have many cores in our bodies. One of those cores is for the women, and the men is going to be at the sacral chakra. That core is dealing with your life force energy, your chi energy. For women, that is where the babies grow. All right, that's where you generate life. All right, and then for the men, that is where your prostate is. And we know that in that area, men also wind up losing a lot of their chi energy from ejaculation, and I talked about that in previous videos as well. Okay, because if you are ejaculating, you're losing life force energy. If you're ejaculating, then you're gaining life force energy, and you're able to use that physical energy as spiritual. You're able to do alchemy and transmute it spiritually. Okay, so yeah, so that's where your Qing energy or Chi energy sits. And then the other core is going to be your heart chakra. That's the gateway to the upper chakras, the upper 3 chakras in the body, and the chakras that are above the body. And all of these chakras, of course, generate your your auric field. Okay, your auric field is how things are magnetized to you. So if your core, your heart, which is the biggest magnetic part of your body, is going to be your heart chakra. It's where I talked about in previous videos how your heart chakra is dealing with your emotional state, how you really feel, and it's communicating those things out into the universe in order for you to attract the things that you are magnetically attracted to. And this law works whether you are positive or negative in your life. So whether you have a positive mindset or a negative mindset, you're still going to attract something because you're still magnetizing something. Okay, so they're dealing with the core in your heart, the gateway. All right, and core also dealing with corazon, because in Espanol corazon means heart. All right, and then the next core we're dealing with is between your eyebrows, and this is going to be what they call your third eye chakra. Some people call it your first eye. All right, and this is dealing with your spiritual eye. This is dealing with your psychic senses. This is tying the intuition here with the intuition in your gut. All right, that feeling, and then being able to connect with your intuition. So being able to go inward. All right, and also knowing that your pineal gland, which is sitting in the center of your head, okay, that is what is generating your crown chakra. All right, so corona, so that they're attacking the cores of your body, which is the middle part of your body, which remember that I did other videos. If you haven't seen other videos, and if you're not aware, I won't say remember, even though we're all coming back into remembrance of this information, so I could say that that the endocrine system is what sits in the center of your body, and this right here is your musical instrument. Okay, this is the musical instrument of the body, and if it's in disharmony, then you're going to deal with emotions that come up as messengers to tell you, hey, that there's some dysfunctions going on within, so you need to fine-tune your instrument. And then those emotions, if you don't deal with those emotions, if you don't pay attention to those messengers, acknowledge them, and deal with that, then what you're going to then experience is a physical illness. So you're going to get sick in some way. All right, it's going to weaken your immune system, and it's also going to weaken your respiratory system, and it's going to weaken your kidneys. All right, it's going to weaken your liver, and I'll do another video really getting into how those organs play a part in what they're doing. All right, because there are certain emotions that are stored in certain organs. All right, and we're mainly going to focus on the kidneys. All right, so now let's go ahead and get it. So I'm gonna share my screen. I did this whole monologue. Hey y'all, I did a whole monologue, but now I'm going to share my screen. All right, and what I'm sharing right now, where I'm going to start at, is dealing with a post. So I posted on my Instagram about 5G equaling corona. This information is also posted on my Facebook Knowledge Butterfly page. And this information, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw it on shout out Shaka Bars. He posted this information. And so I reposted it because this is not the first time that someone's talked about 5G and how, you know, all of these towers, how, you know, the phones, because all these things are giving off positive ions. And I did a video talking about negative ions versus positive ions, maybe back in 2018, but breaking down why the positive ions disrupt our body, okay? And also talking about how you can deal with certain crystals like hematite and shungite that can actually help you block some of this energy that's coming from these different forms of technology, okay? But we're going to get into 5G right now and breaking it down on a spiritual sense. So we're going to start with the number 5, then we're going to deal with the letter G instead of really getting into the quote unquote physical part. But I will talk about what part of the physical that it's impacting as well, which is also limiting people's spiritual enlightenment, their spiritual journey, if you allow it to. So I just did a Google search for the spiritual meaning of the number 5. So really quickly, it says number 5 is a symbol of balance. All right. If you think about the number 5, and it will just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that the number 3 sits at the center of it, and that you have to have a balance. So it's almost like the heart being weighed on a scale. So you have the heart on one side and then you have the feather on the other side. Is your heart lighter than a feather? All right. Which way is the pendulum? Which way is the scales going? All right. So that's how I look at it when I think about balance. Also, if I was to make an X using dots, so I put a dot here, a dot here, a dot in the center, and then 2 dots right down or right across from the 2 dots at the top. If I filled in those lines like we did when we were little, it would make an X. All right. And so I talked about the letter X and how that the letter X ties to the divine feminine energy, how it ties to your chromosomes and all of that, and also how it ties to Osiris. All right. So I can really quickly break that down, all right, but not the whole thing. You have to watch the video, but I'll just say that this energy is looking to block our Osiris, block that energy from waking back up, block Osiris and Osset, okay, or Osiris and Isis and Osar and Osset, okay. So anywho's, number 5 also means that you have to keep balance between the material and the spiritual aspects in your life. All right. So you're going to have the spiritual part and you're going to have the physical part, and it's finding the balance. It's that perfect blend, that perfect balance, that perfect center for yourself. All right. So this is what the 5G is trying to keep you from doing. All right. It's the negative end, because everything has a quote unquote higher vibrational side and everything has a lower vibrational. So the lower vibrational, what 5G is trying to do is trying to block you from balancing your material and spiritual selves. So your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, or your ego and your higher self, however you want to say it. So we can say that angel number 5 is also a symbol of individualism, courage, and important life lessons that you have learned through your own experience. All right. So this year I talked about, as well as being in the year 2020, and then how the year 2020 is all about balance. It's about balancing your mind and your heart, about those two agreeing with one another, the father agreeing with the mother, the father being the mind, the mother or the head, and the mother being the heart, which is the emotions as well. So it's about that balance as well. This whole corona thing definitely deals with, on a spiritual end, is dealing with the ancestors, because don't ever think that somebody's doing something that we don't have control over. And when I say we, I'm talking about our higher selves, because yes, the conscious mind is, and the unconscious collective is trying to balance out and fix what the conscious or the ego has done. All right. So even though people don't know what's going on and they're panicking, on the spiritual end, everything is divine. And we're going to talk about how it's still divine. All right. Even though all this craziness, still seeing the divinity in what's going on right now. All right. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about the angel number 5. Angel number 5 is associated with our sensual experience. We experience the world through our 5 senses, and we definitely know that the 5 senses is how the ego explores this world and gets an understanding of it in order to send it to our subconscious mind and tell us, our subconscious mind, what it's seeing, what it's smelling, what it's tasting, what it's touching, and what it's hearing. All right. It also says that and the sensual experience is always changing, it's forever changing. Christ said that basing our lives solely on our sensual experience is like building a house on sand. Instead, we should establish our lives firmly on the rock of our spiritual experience. So that's how I look at the number 5. I look at it as we're supposed to be establishing a more spiritual foundation, not this foundation that's been solely focused on material, because we have been a material world for so very long that the pendulum had to swing to the other side. So right now we're just dealing with the fallout because the pendulum has swung to the side of the spiritual. All right. So now let's get into the letter G. So this excerpt is from the Chicken Kabbalah. If you never heard of Chicken Kabbalah, it was written by, I think his name is Lon Milo Duquette. I think that's his name. And he did a great job with his book because he actually put it in some form of humor, but he also tied together the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, the Hebrew letters, and the tarot cards. He tied all of that into in a pretty little package as this book, and it's not so left brain thinking. It gives you the pictures because your left brain deals with the words, with analyzing things and the details, and then your right brain deals with the bigger picture, is dealing with your imagination. And so with it having pictures, that's tying into symbolism and helping you imagine these things. All right. So that to me is one of the perfect things. People like to make fun of saying somebody's not intelligent because a book, they want to read a book with pictures. But to be honest, that's the perfect way to help balance your left and right brain, is to read a book not only with words, but with pictures. All right. Now, so we're going to get into the letter G. The letter G in Hebrew is called Gamel. All right. And so Gamel is path number 13. So there are 22 paths on the Tree of Life. All right. If you know anything about the Kabbalah in Judaism, you'll know that they deal with 2 trees, a tree of life, which comes straight out of the Christian Bible as well, or you can find, I should say, right in the Christian Bible, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. The tree of life is represented by the front of the tree, and the tree of life is actually dealing with your human journey. It is trying to be a better human. And Brother Panda loves to say that. And when he would say that, I didn't have the deepest understanding of it that I have now. Now it resonates with me on a whole nother level than when I first heard him from just reading these books and internalizing this information. So the front of the tree of life, which is the most accepted aspect of the tree, is dealing with your conscious mind, is dealing with the journey of the ego. All right. However, the backside of the tree, which is called the Kalipah, or the tree of knowledge, is dealing with your subconscious mind, is dealing with knowledge of your true self, not the persona that you incarnated in. All right. So dealing with path number 13 is it joins Kether, the crown, to Tifra, beauty. All right, so the crown, it joins the crown to the sun. And if we want to say, put this into the human body, this is your crown. All right, your crown chakra. And then number 6 is going to be dealing with your heart chakra. All right, so, and that's where your soul, that's the home of the soul. That's where the soul resides. All right, or it's supposed to reside. So this is path number 13. And if anybody knows anything about numerology, I've talked about before how number 13 represents the Christ consciousness, because it is the number after the number 12. The number 12 represents the hamster wheel of your natal chart. You going from Aries to Pisces, or whatever order your chart is in, all right, and you continue running on that hamster wheel, whereas the number 13 is dealing with the center, the Bindu dot is dealing with the sun. And I can actually show you that real quick. That's why I had that up. I closed out this window. I had closed out this window because I was like, why did I Google this? Because I had meant to. I honestly wanted to do this video last Sunday, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, but I just wasn't totally in the mood for it, so I did not do it. But let's look at it real quick and show you what the number 13 represents. And shout out Brother Panic, because he was the first person that I heard really drop in the science of this. Because please know that everything is a science. Please know that the things like astrology is a science, all right, with mathematics in it too. Realize that the ancient things that we studied and we taught was a combination of math and science. It didn't separate the two because we understood that it all goes together. No thing is just one thing. So why would you only why would you teach it separately as if it's a separate thing when it's all one? All right. So anywho, this is the glyph of the sun in astrology, and you see this black dot in the center. All right. And that black dot represents where you're supposed to stand, be the center point, be the ring master. All right. This is the dream master. This is where, if you read any books talking about doing rituals and things, they'll tell you to create a circle. Even watching these TV shows and stuff like Charmed and The Magicians and many others, many other ones, you'll notice that they'll draw a circle and they'll have candles and things outside the circle. They'll put their symbols or whatever, their veves in the center, and then they'll around the part that they're going to stand in, and then they'll stand in the center, and then they'll do their ritual or their spell. And that's you becoming the magician. That's you becoming the number 13, you becoming the Christ energy. Therefore, you're able to observe a 360-degree circle of all of the zodiac signs, and you're controlling those, which means you're controlling your ego self, because your ego is all those 12 personas, all those archetypes, all right? And when you stand in the center, you realize that you are all of those different archetypes. However, you become the higher version of those archetypes. You are everything, and everything is you. So everything you see outside of you is inside of you. All right. Anywho's, we're going to go back. That was dealing with the number 13. All right. So again, this 13 path, and this right here, like I said, is connecting the crown to the heart. If you notice, this is also the top of your spine. All right. From your heart to the bottom part, which is where your medulla oblongata sits. All right. Which is connected to, guess what, your pineal gland. All right. So this is why your mind, this is why the focus is balancing our minds and our hearts right now during this time, my loves. And I talked about that in previous videos. It's about getting your heart and your mind to agree. Now, another thing about this path is that it connects to an invisible emanation or sephira, which is called Thoth. All right. And Thoth represents the dark matter. It represents Osiris. It represents your subconscious mind. It represents you going into the true world, which is your subconscious mind, which is the darkness. The light is hidden in the darkness. So that's what this path represents. And that's why the letter G is so powerful. So when we speak of 5G, they're trying to block that path, that flowing path, that open flow from your heart, because they're trying to close off your heart, which is where your immune system is sitting in front of your heart. All right. It's protecting the heart. It's protecting the queen. Your father, the head, the mother, the heart, the queen. So the king and the queen. All right. We got to deal with these things. All right. Now, this part I won't go into because this is dealing with the actual shape of the letter. And if you have not even read about that, you won't be up on that. Hold on. Let's just get into... So I'll start here. Gimel is spelled G-M-L. So in Hebrew, they do not include the vowels because they consider the vowels to be sacred, knowing that the vowels actually are what is also represented through your 7 chakras. Okay. So when you're saying your vowels, it's a scale of your chakras, just like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I think it's C. I think it's C for your root chakra, B for, or D. No, you know what, let me not even try to get into it now, because it must mean I'm not supposed to get into it, because I'm having to overthink it, because I'm actually thinking about it. I definitely know that C is representing a lower note, so that's literally where the root chakra starts. And you know what, I could Google that real quick. I tell you, I wasn't planning on doing this part, and I've actually posted this before. Music notes in your chakras on my Heal Soul. And I actually didn't have to do all that because it had came up. But on my Heal Soul Instagram page, I posted about the musical notes and the chakras before. Because knowing those musical notes can also help you balance your chakras, guys. So let me see if I can just pull up a quick one. I also had a little marijuana. Okay, let's just look at this one real quick. Oh, I could have looked at this one. This one's even easier to see. All right, even easier to see. So again, your root chakra is C. D is, and I was actually about to say it right. Never question what comes up first. D is your sacral chakra. E is your solar plexus. F represents your heart chakra. G represents your throat chakra. That's very interesting when we're talking about the letter G as well, and how that ties into your throat chakra. All right, communication, speaking. Because if your bottom chakras are out of balance, you're going to be speaking things that are not beneficial to you. Your frequency that you're putting out is going to be fear. All right, so you're going to continue to create that. All right, A is your third eye, and then B is your crown chakra. All right. Now, so let me finish. So GML, 3 letters, 3 dealing with that trinity at the top of your, which is Kether, Chakma, and Bina. The 3 letters enumerate to 73 and mean camel or ka, mel. And you'll notice that it has ka in there. Camel, the word camel has ka, which is the spirit, and then El, which is a god. All right. And this is also dealing with Cam, which is dealing with the Kamites, which are the ancient Egyptians. So, anywho, this is also the couple up or the team up. And what did I say? Your crown and your heart chakra are supposed to be teaming up. They're supposed to be in balance and harmony. The father and mother are supposed to team up and become one. So like the ox, a camel is an animal domesticated to the service of humanity. The ox, however, is exploited in the cause of nourishment, the camel in the cause of communication. And we talked about the letter G dealing with communication, that note as well. A camel is a ship of the desert and a vehicle of life and commerce. And it makes sense for that to be represent that pathway, and Gimel to represent camel, the animal, the camel, because remember it's crossing over Doth, and Doth is the abyss. It is crossing over the sand. All right. Now, it says the camel is the ship of the desert, a vehicle of life and commerce, capable of crossing the vast abyss of sand, again, dealing with Doth, your subconscious mind. The path of Gimel on the tree of life also crosses the abyss and joins Kether to Tifra. And anytime you see abyss, think of Doth. Think of the invisible Sifra. In Aramaic, the language allegedly spoken by Jesus, the word camel and the word rope are spelled exactly the same, Gam-la. And in the Greek language, the letter G is gamma. So this gamla. I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure. So he's doing a joke, but I'll bet in Matthew 19:24, Jesus says it is easier for a rope, not camels, to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. So Gimel is one of the 7 double letters and represents the moon. And when it's talking about 7 double letters, it's literally dealing with your 7 chakras. Just know that. But also Gimel is tied to the moon, and the moon is tied to your subconscious mind. All right. The moon also, guess what? The moon also rules over your emotions, all right, your emotional body. Now, the tarot trump is the high priestess. So the high priestess is the card for the letter Gimel. So now I'm going to break down the high priestess card. This is a whole thing, y'all. All right. I wanted to make sure that I really share some really good knowledge and information with you. All right. So now let's get into the high priestess tarot card meanings. So upright, the high priestess is dealing with your intuition. And what did I say? It's what's going on with the corona is trying to block you connecting to your intuition. Sacred knowledge is trying to block sacred knowledge. The divine feminine energy is trying to block the divine feminine energy, which is that kundalini energy from rising up and meeting your pineal gland, and obtaining your true enlightenment. And it's also trying to block you tapping into your subconscious mind and reprogramming your subconscious mind, okay? Trying to block Osiris, the X. All right, remember the number 5? I said if you do your dots a certain way and then you draw or connect the dots, then it would make an X. All right. Now, reversed is dealing with secrets, disconnected from your intuition, withdrawal, and silence. And this is exactly what they want to do. Turn your high priestess card reversed. They want to turn it upside down when you need to be upright. All right. So high priestess description. The high priestess sits in front of a thin veil decorated with pomegranates, and pomegranates represents fertility. The veil represents the separate conscious and subconscious realms, the seen and the unseen. All right, and serves to keep casual onlookers out. So only the initiated may enter. All right, and initiated means those who have a desire for this information and knowledge. You can vibrate on a level to be open to understanding that, and they don't want you to get to that point. All right, and when I say they, it's the media, and it's those who are backing the media, the pharmaceutical companies, the ones who created this disease, all right, or this virus. So the pomegranates on the veil are a symbol of abundance, fertility, and the divine feminine, and are sacred to Persephone, who ate a pomegranate seed in the underworld and was forced to return every year. And let me say this goddess Persephone, since this is dealing with the high priestess card, this would be a great goddess energy to call upon, a great one to do rituals too. Let's see if I want to read any more. Okay, so on either side of the high priestess stand 2 pillars marking the entrance to the sacred mystical temple, also associated with the Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon, you have your temples here. The Temple of Solomon is dealing with the soul of man. All right. Now, I also talked about how you have many temples. You have these temples. You have the temples between your breasts, which is where your heart chakra lies, and you have the temples between your legs, which is where which is going to be the yoni for the women, and it's going to be the phallus for the men. This is dealing with the temples, all right, which line up with your endocrine system. Now, one pillar is black with the letter B, Boaz, meaning in his strength, and Boaz pillar represents the darkness. It represents the divine feminine energy. And the other is white with the letter J, Jakin, meaning he will establish, and the white represents the divine masculine energy, and that's the light, the darkness and the light. So the black and white colors of the pillars symbolize duality, masculine and feminine, darkness and light, stating that knowledge and acceptance of duality are required to enter this sacred space. So you have to have an understanding that you come into this existence with a dual nature. All right, your mind has been split into 2 hemispheres, the left hemisphere, the masculine, the right hemisphere, the feminine, and you make an X across your body. Shout out, what's his name? Q Reeves, for talking about how your body makes an X because your right side of your hemisphere, your brain, controls your left side, and the left side controls your right side. So your body is shaped like an X. It's supposed to be crisscrossed, and it actually meets in the center point, your heart. All right. That is the meeting place for the man and the woman. That's the meeting place for your soul to become one. Now, the high priestess wears a blue robe with a cross on her chest and a horn diadem or crown, both a symbol of her divine knowledge and her status as a divine ruler. In her lap, she holds a scroll with the letter Torah, signifying the greater law according to A.E. Wyatt. All right. And the Torah is actually also the Torah. All right, that's another play on it. And the Torah is dealing with the Hebrew Torah. All right, now it is partly covered, signifying that this sacred knowledge is both explicit and implicit. It will only be revealed when the student is ready to look beyond the material realm, which is what this energy is telling us to do with this corona. Look beyond what you see. So the crescent moon at her feet symbolizes her connection with the divine feminine, her intuition and subconscious mind, and the natural cycles of the moon. Now remember, the high priestess card is the moon card, okay? Let's see here. Now we're going to get into another divine feminine energy, and this energy is the Kundalini energy, and this is an energy that is they're attempting to suppress. All right, they're attempting to suppress the Kundalini energy, and Kundalini energy is represented by Kunti or Kanti, however you want to pronounce it, and that's an ancient goddess. All right, I first heard about this goddess, shout out Bobby Hemmett. He talked about this goddess being suppressed and how they villainize or demonize the word cunt. And it's very interesting because recently on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I saw an episode where Kenya called Tanya a cunt, and they thought it was the worst thing you can call a woman, when really that's the best thing you can call a woman is a cunt, because the cunt represents the goddess Kunti or Kanti, which is who we are. And so let's talk about this goddess. She is the Hindu goddess Kunti or Kanti, or great yoni of the universe. All right, she represented the beauty and power of the female body in the Mahabharata, a major, hopefully I said that right, a major Sanskrit epic of ancient India. They have in parentheses and soon to be a movie. I know this is not new information, but the Mahabharata was a historical Hindu text believed to have been written between 200 and 400 BC, containing mythological and didactic tales of, here you could say heroism or Hebrewism or heroism. The word hero, and I talked about this before, has her and it has he in it. So it's representing both sides, the divine feminine and divine masculine energy, and the sovereign rivalry between two families. Not only did Yoni lead a powerful matriarchy that revels the discourse of contemporary gender politics, but she encompassed life itself. She was worshipped at hundreds of shrines across the ancient Eastern world. So she was definitely a symbol of the divine feminine energy and the rise of your Kundalini energy. All right, so this is another goddess and deity you can be using and calling upon. Remember, all these goddesses are in each and every one of us, no matter if you're female or masculine. It's in each one, or female or male. It's in each and every one of us. So you call upon this goddess energy in yourself in order to raise this energy up into yourself. All right. And this coming up is another more of a description of Kunti. This is from occultworld.com, and occultworld.com, I actually paid only $13 in order to have access to all kind of books and information on the occult. All right, so Kunti or Kanti, also known as Raja Mata, and Ra we know is dealing with the sun and the light. Ja, you can say God and Ja, so sun god. And then Ma is dealing with the divine feminine energy. Ta, right now is not coming to me, but I do know of words that are dealing with Ta, like Tao and things like that in the Chinese and Japanese language. And knowing that it is dealing with basically divine energy, if not the etheric energy. All right, but I have to do more research, but just looking at it, this is definitely dealing with the divine mother, sun god, and the divine mother. But here it says this means royal mother, but I'm just doing a breakdown of each one of these sounds because we broke down the sounds, you know, of a word, Ra, you know, and Rastafari and all of that. Ras, all that's dealing with the sun god, and Ra, the sun god is Ra. All right, so origin is in India, is where she originates. So Kunti or Kanti is an ancient goddess of fertility and wisdom, which is perfect to be dealing with during this time of Aries. We're in the season of fertility. We're in the season of dealing with the spring, where things are starting to grow, and so things are becoming fertile. And this is because you know, we are in the season of, like I said, Aries and spring, where things are blooming. So it's known for fertility. It's also known for wisdom, and great wisdom coming from what? The mother. All right. So it's a sister of Krishna's father and hence his aunt. She is now most famous as an important character in the epic, the Mahabharata, but her veneration may predate the Vedic text. In her most primordial manifestation, she epitomizes female generative power in a way that Shiva represents corresponding male power. Okay. Generative power is dealing with the divine feminine energy in the sacral chakra, being able to generate and create life. All right. Now, Kunti's powers are so intense that her very presence stimulates conception and painless childbirth. So if you are pregnant, you need to call upon and work with this goddess, because she'll help you have a painless childbirth. She'll also stimulate conception if you are trying to get pregnant. So in the Mahabharata, her powers are gifts of the devas, and they also call divas, the deities. But once upon a time, Kunti was the self-generating mother. Self-generating mother, so you can think of the Mother Mary who had Jesus, okay? All right, and it was an immaculate conception, so you can think about her in this way. So she bears children parthenogenically, not because virginity is spiritually superior, but because her fertility power is so strong, no partner is needed. She's that powerful and strong, ladies and fellas. So she's definitely someone you want to deal with. And this is not just dealing with creating physical human children. This is also dealing with manifesting your desires and your dreams. This year, Ross Ben was talking about on Black Magic 363. So shout out Brother Rich. A couple of days ago, he had them on, and they were talking about Ross Ben and Uncle Hanky, or Hank Rising Sun. They were talking about how 2020 is speeding up manifestations. So people are really getting the things that they want, because this is all about your heart. So whatever condition your heart is, you're going to manifest things really, really quickly in 2020. All right. So that's why it's important to balance. So anywho's, in her earliest manifestations, Kunti may have been a wanton virgin, similar to Anat. Notably, even in the Mahabharata, her children are born of many fathers. Let's see if I want to. According to the Mahabharata, her birth name was Pritha, but she was given as a daughter to a childless king, Kunti Boha, whose name she bears. Miraculously, shortly after her arrival in his home, the king was blessed with children. He credited Kunti's presence, considered her his lucky charm, treated her as his daughter, and was very devoted to her. She lived in his home until she married. Now, a great way of activating any deities, what I'm starting to realize, is you have to see yourself as that energy. She was considered a lucky charm. She was considered fertile. So you actually want to deal with things that make you feel lucky. You want to start to feel that energy and take on that energy of that deity in order to activate that deity in yourself. And you also want to chant that deity's name while you're feeling that emotion, so you feel like that deity, because that way you know that you are that deity and you can connect with that deity in that way. That's one way of I found of connecting with these deities. Okay. We talked about how she helps with painless childbirth and so on and so forth. But I'm going to stop right there. Kunti's presence brings children to the childless. So if you're dealing with fertility issues, male or female, you can work with Kunti or Kunti. Incorporate her images into fertility rituals and magic, or let her preside over your altar. And so this is a great time to be doing sex magic. All right, so you can call upon her energy, and I'm going to show you another picture of her very shortly. You can Google her and find her. You can take a screenshot of when I pull up this image, and you can print it out and just have it on your altar. You can put it on your bed. You can do whatever you feel helps you activate that energy. You can put it on your mattress. Whatever you feel can help you activate that energy and tap into this energy, because I'm going to talk about why sex is very important during this time, okay? So Kunti is invoked to heal. So she can help heal your body. Kunti is invoked to heal and protect women's reproductive health and organs. So again, that's how she deals with the fertility issue. So if a woman is dealing with fertility issues, call upon Kunti's energy to help heal your reproductive organs. All right. Kunti protects and sponsors women who bear and care for children independently with no male partner. So single women, call upon Kunti's energy and she will help you out, ladies. And iconography, many traditional images are available. She's a popular subject of Indian spiritual imagery, but she is usually depicted subservient to her sons or their deva fathers. Vulva-shaped stones or amulets may also be used to represent her. offerings, flowers, spring water, vulva-shaped candles. And this information was taken from the Encyclopedia of Spirits, the Ultimate Guide to the Magic of Fairies, Genies, Demons, Ghosts, Gods, and Goddesses, written by Judica Isles. All right. And I remember Brother Panic talking about that book. I have yet to purchase that book. However, what I have found with this site, they have all of those deities on this site where I can get information on these different goddesses. And gods and fairies and things of that nature, and it allows for me to visualize. And you also, another good practice is to visualize yourself as this deity. Okay, so now this is a picture that someone drew of the goddess Kunti or Kanti, and you'll notice how this whole thing looks like a vulva, and you'll see that this is why I say she's the Kundalini energy rising up, because they have the serpent snake right here in the center of her body, in the center of her temples of her legs, which is shaped like a V, the way that they're open. All right, and they're also shaped like an M for the mother, the mother energy. And then she has the hand, the mudras on her left and right hand. And then as you can see, she also has a vulva shape here where the third eye is. And then she has a crescent moon, and she has a lotus flower, and then she has the halo showing enlightenment around her. Okay, so you can screenshot this image. I'll leave it there for a moment. And you can save it to your computer, print it out, and do and utilize this energy or this image in order to help raise your Kundalini energy. If you've been working on your chakras and balancing your chakras out, because if you don't allow your chakras to be balanced, you don't have and aligned, you don't have a clear path to it. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys got your screenshots. We're about to move on to the next page. But you also see, look at this lotus flower behind her. All right. And then I put the root chakra image so you can see this right after Kunti. And you can see that the 4 petals representing the north, south, east, and west, representing the 4 directions, representing the 4 seasons, representing the energy of the root. This represents the energy of the root chakra, but this also looks like a vulva. This looks like a woman's vagina. And then you have the circle, which is representing the circles of time, which is also representing your natal chart. And then we have the square, which also has the 4 sides, and this symbol represents earth. Whenever you see a square, it's representing earth. And then you have the downward triangle representing the vagina, representing the divine feminine energy. You have the crescent moon, and you have the sun in the center, and this is the balance. All right, and then you have the Om, which is the sound of creation. This picture is just quickly showing Kundalini energy. All right, the Kundalini energy, how it's supposed to flow from the base of your spine all the way up to your crown, and then you obtain enlightenment. All right. All right, another Kundalini pic. I just thought those were dope, because I really like this one because you can see the snake, the cobra. This is like the uraeus that the ancient Egyptians had on their heads. And not just the ancient Egyptians, a lot of ancient civilizations signified enlightenment with the cobra, all right, with the snake. That's showing that Kundalini's at the top. That's showing that you are definitely tapped into. Let me make sure that I got through everything. Yep, all right. So now we're going to talk about what they're trying to do here. You can even just from here, do the 5, help stop coronavirus. Do the 5, interesting. The number 5, 5G, dealing with them trying to make you so caught up in your 5 senses that you totally miss the boat, that this is the time for spiritual awareness. All right. Spiritual knowledge of self. So I'm going to close out that. All right. So I did a Google search, physical effects of fear. I already knew what they were. I just wanted to put this on here for you guys. So physical health. We're going to talk about what it does to your physical health, to fear. All right. First off, fear impacts your kidneys. That's where it's stored. All emotions, positive, whether they're positive or negative, are stored in different organs in your body. The emotion of fear, which is what they're trying to make you stay in a constant state of, is stored in your kidneys. And we're going to talk about how important the kidneys are in a moment. So physical health. Fear weakens our immune system and can cause cardiovascular damage. So that's dealing with your heart chakra. So right there, X is at your heart. So fear weakens your immune system and causes cardiovascular damage. Remember, I told you that your thymus gland sits right in front of your heart. And it is what Dan Winters calls a catcher's mitt. All right, it's catching the emotions. It's a defense system to protect the heart. So if the heart is so if the immune system is weakened, it cannot protect your heart. All right, and the immune system gets weakened based upon what the heart is telling it is feeling. Remember, everything is an intelligence in your body. Your pineal gland has its own intelligence and community. Your heart has its own intelligence and community. Your sexual organs has its own intelligence and communities, and based upon what your thought processes and your emotions are, so your mental and your emotional state is going to determine what communications each one of these intelligences are putting out. All right, so those intelligences are creating new cells. And so those new cells are either going to come out with a negative vibration or a positive vibration. And what they want you to do is to communicate negative emotions and negative vibrations. All right. Now, it can also cause gastrointestinal problems such as ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome, and decreased fertility. Remember, I told you that fertility is very important right now. That's why I gave you information on the goddess Kunti. And so decreased fertility means that you're going to have a decrease in wanting to actually being able to create, whether it be creating a human life or creating a kundalini birth, all right, or creating your business or creating whatever. It's keeping you in a state of a cycle of constantly thinking about what you fear. Therefore, you're constantly causing more of that to happen. So if you are experiencing some form of physical sickness and you're fearing that physical sickness, you thinking about it and fearing it is going to keep you deteriorating. It's going to keep your health declining. All right, so that's why they have to keep you in that constant state. And then also a decreased state of fertility can also create a low sex drive as well. All right. Now, it can lead to accelerated aging and even premature death. All right, premature death. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Now, this site right here is dealing with the kidneys and the heart, and so I want to talk about that really quickly. So the kidneys' relationship with the heart. This is coming from shin/nong.com, and this is someone who's dealing with, or a site that deals with traditional Chinese medicine, and that's what TCM means. All right. So according to the 5 elements theory, again with the number 5, the heart belongs to fire. All right, and the kidneys belong to water. So fire, that's the masculine within the feminine. Remember that the yin and yang symbols and signs, you have one side is white and it has a black dot in the center showing you that there is divine feminine in the masculine, and then on the right side it has the divine feminine in black with a white dot, and it shows that there's divine masculine and feminine, so that there is both of those energies or principalities are in everything. All right, so the heart, just like it is may come off as a feminine quality or a queen, there is still divine masculine within the heart. All right, so they are characterized as possessing yang and yin properties respectively. The heart and the kidneys are closely related with a mutually dependent and restrictive correlation within each other. If this functional relationship is abnormal, that is to say, if a dynamic equilibrium, so balance, is disrupted between the body's yin and yang or water and fire properties, the morbid condition is termed as non-coordination between the heart and the kidney. All right. The following concrete presentations describe their relationship. Water and fire coordinate with each other mutually. From a TCM, again, TCM means traditional Chinese medicine viewpoint, the heart is located in the upper part of the body. It is characterized as yang and presides over water, which has a quiet property. All right. While the kidneys are situated in the lower part of the body, they are characterized as yin and preside over fire, which has a dynamic property. Under normal physiological conditions, the heart fire descends to the kidney and joins with the kidney yang to warm and propel kidney yin. On the other hand, so that's basically, hold on, let me finish reading this. All right. So on the other hand, kidney water ascends together with heart yin to nourish heart yang and prevent it from becoming hyperactive. There are Chinese medicine sayings such as when the kidneys lack heart fire, then water is cold. When the heart lacks kidney water, its fires become hyperactive. Okay, so when water and fire are in harmony, a relative balance between the yang above and the yin below is maintained, ensuring a healthy condition. If you look at these illustrations here, you'll notice that, what does this look like? This looks like a Gulf Stream. If you watch any news channel, you watch the weather report, and you see how the Gulf Streams work. I think that's what it's called. All right. Let's see if this pulls up what I wanted to pull up. Maybe I should have just put in weather, Gulf Stream weather. All right, I found one. You see the Gulf Streams, you'll have a warm flow turning into a cold flow, and they have a pattern that they go through. I wish this was bigger, but this right here is splitting off, circular, and it's coming back. But anywho's, this looks like a weather front. You have a cold front and you have a warm front, and then they meet together. So in order to balance the water so it's not too cold, or the fire, so the kidney waters are not too cold and the heart fire is not too hot, they have to recycle within one another. They have to go in a pattern. They have to flow and cycle with one another. However, if something's wrong with the kidneys, it impacts the heart and vice versa, because there's no proper coordination. So once there's a disruption between heart fire and kidney water, with yin ascending and yang descending, pathological conditions will occur. For example, when kidney yin is exhausted, the kidney water fails to restrict the heart fire and leads to a hyperactive heart fire. Meanwhile, the hyperactive heart fire cannot be directed downwards to warm the kidney. And I did read this already. But I'll finish. Therefore, the upper part of the body is suffering from hyperactive heart fire, whereas the lower part of the body is suffering from coldness and coagulation of kidney water, leading to problems like insomnia, night involuntary semen emissions, and severe cases, mental confusion such as delirium. Let me see how far. So the physiological function of the heart is to govern the blood, and the physiological function of the kidney is to store essence. And the essence that it's talking about is your chi energy. That is the inheritance. The kidneys has the inheritance of your parents, that energy. You're born with a certain amount of chi energy, and it gets depleted the more and more you stress. Okay, and that's what that's talking about. So blood and essence are important elements inside the body. They form the essential substances in maintaining life activities and the quality of life. So the kidney essence can transform into blood, and the blood can transform into essence, so they're mutually exclusive. The mutually transforming and breeding actions provide the material basis for the functional correlations of the heart and the kidney. And this will actually be a lot, but just know that the heart houses the spirit, the shin energy, and shin is a Hebrew word for fire as well. So your heart is housing your spirit, or your shin. It dominates all life activities and replenishes the essence. The kidneys store the essence, or gene, which transforms into bone marrow and sea marrow. All right. The marrow gathers and fills up the brain. The brain. That is why the TCM believes essence also shelters emotions or sentiments. All right. They're saying your essence, which comes up from your kidneys, that it also it shelters your emotions, houses your emotions. All right. And I'm going to stop there because this is a lot of information and a lot more than I meant to get into. So quickly, I'm going to show you guys some quick images. This picture right here is from the movie Fantasy Island. They did a remake of this movie. I just saw this movie a couple of weekends ago. And this movie is dealing with your subconscious mind, and it's also dealing with fear in order to block your Kundalini energy. All right. So you'll notice that we're just going to deal with a little bit of the symbolism. You'll notice behind him, what do you see? A serpent, and you see a tree. All right. So the serpent is representing your Kundalini energy, and this tree is representing the tree of knowledge. They want you to be afraid to go into your subconscious mind and seek knowledge, and they want you to be afraid of raising your Kundalini energy. All right. They want to keep you in a fear state. All right. The next image is from the same movie, Fantasy Island. This is a doorway that they had this woman go through multiple times. And you notice there are two snakes on each side of it. And if you know, are familiar with the caduceus, which is the symbol of Mercury, which is also the symbol that all of these hospitals and doctors' offices use, that is dealing with the Kundalini rising to your crown. That's dealing with enlightenment. And so again, this is about blocking it. So this is saying that she was going into the doorway, going into the doorway, entering into the pathway or the tree of knowledge in order to raise her Kundalini energy, dealing with her subconscious mind, through dealing with her subconscious mind and dealing with her emotions. However, they made everything very fearful, and they warped the people's fantasies in order for you not to even try to strive to make your dreams come true. All right, because that's another part of it too. Another part of this whole corona thing, I'm going to talk about at the end, is the spiritual side of it, and what the spirits and the ancestors want us to do during this time, what this really represents on a spiritual level. Yes, they are trying to block this, but know that on the spiritual side, we are winning. So these symbols and images are helping those who are knowledgeable of self and who have already been going through the journey, and who are very steadfast in this journey into waking up to your true self. All right. I talked about how this time of year is dealing with Aries, and it's dealing with fertility, it's dealing with the spring equinox, all right, and it's dealing with the energy of Ostara, or Easter, which is where Easter comes from. Okay, and so this time of year is dealing with balance when we get into the spring, which perfectly fits with 2020. On March 21st, they said March 19th, but normally on the date of March 21st is when it starts, the spring equinox. But if you actually look at history, you'll notice that it's getting earlier and earlier and earlier, and that's because we have come out of the Pisces cycle and into the Aquarius cycle, and back in different cycles and different eons, there were different signs that started the spring. It used to be Taurus, that's the season that started the spring, and that's when we were dealing with the calves, and we were dealing with the bull and the cows and things of that nature. And even in the Bible, it talks about the people worshiping a bull, and Moses getting upset because Moses represented the ram, he represented Aries, and Taurus represented, and the bull represented Taurus in the spring. And so that was Hathor. All right. So then we start dealing with Moses, we start dealing with Osiris, we started getting into Haru with the Christ. So we start getting into that type of energy. And so, as we move on now to Aquarius, the water bearer, which is the bearer of knowledge, all right, not moving to it, but as we're in this time, we're dealing with it moving closer to spring, starting at the Aquarius time of year and not Aries, all right, because we've gotten out of the whole Aries cycle. So we had Taurus, and then we went into Aries, which was Moses, and then we went into Christ, which was Pisces, and now we're in Aquarius, the water bearer. So now that we're in this cycle, we're moving towards spring, starting in the Pisces, during the Pisces time, and then it'll start in Aquarius time. So it's going backwards. And so spring will be starting at different points in times. That's just how we have to go through all the 12 houses. I truly feel like that it changes during different eons. That is just my interpretation. That is what I got from it, that spring doesn't always have to start in a certain season, and it has not always started in certain seasons. It's according to the time period that we're in. Okay, so anywho's, we're in the time period of having an equal amount of dark, darkness or nighttime or feminine energy, and an equal amount of light or the sun, or masculine energy. This is a time where we have inner and outer balance, and that is what this focus is: inner and outer balance. Remember, the number 5 is about balancing your spiritual and your material. All right, it's about balancing your yin and your yang, balancing your divine feminine, your divine masculine. This is about not about the light defeating the dark, as this particular thing says here, but now is getting into the time where there is no defeat of either one. This is about you casting the things that are in the shadow into the light so that you can deal with those things and you can conquer. So in a way, is conquering or defeating the dark, because you're conquering those things that you fear, the things that you've hidden in the dark. That's what this is all about. And that's why they had Fantasy Island. It's supposed to be a thriller or a horror, because they wanted to scare you from going into the darkness. They wanted to scare you from going into your subconscious mind. They wanted to scare you from your Kundalini energy rising. They want to scare you and keep your emotions in influx, and they want to continue to control your emotions. All right, so stay with me. I know this is a longer video, however, it has a lot of gems and a lot of knowledge, and this is for all my people who are really who are upping their spiritual game, all right, who are more focused on obtaining their spiritual enlightenment and knowing who they truly are and walking in their soul's purpose, following their heart's desires. And you can only follow your heart's desires if you release all of that negative things that has your heart weighing, being heavier than a feather, or weighing more than a feather. Okay, so again, this is springtime, this is fertility, and you can also deal with the goddess Eostre, Ostara. So we have the goddess Persephone you can deal with at this time. That's helping you really tap into your subconscious mind. You can deal with the goddess Kunti or Kanti, the goddess of fertility, and also Eostre, who also is a goddess of fertility, and that's helping you deal with your Kundalini energy. All right, that's helping you deal. Kunti also helps you deal with fertility issues. She can help you with your your sex drive. She can help you just deal with your fertility as a whole, especially as women. You can definitely call upon that energy. And notice that Eostre and estrogen, which is a hormone, all right, and that is showing you that also, like estrogen and all those things, is coming from Eostre, all right, and that is an essential hormone for women's fertility. All right, so this is another one goddess that's helping you with fertility. This is fertility in your finances. This is fertility in abundance in your health. This is for fertility and abundance in every aspect of your life, for your mental health, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being. All right, so you can call upon the goddess Ostara, Eostre, or Kunti. All right. And they also talk about some Celtic goddesses that deal with the hair, and the hair or the rabbit deals with fertility. So you can call on sacred goddesses such as Hecate, who also deals with your subconscious mind, Freya and Holda. The hair is a symbol for the moon. So again, tying back into the moon, which brings us back to the High Priestess card, which brings us back to the letter G. And brings us back to the letter G, meaning goddess, and the letter G also meaning God. All right. So also during this time, you can actually work with these goddesses, especially climaxing up to the time of Easter. So don't discount these holidays. You use it for the purpose that they were intended to be used for, which was to boost up your own frequency, your own magnetic frequency, to elevate your own life spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. All right. And they talk about the egg, and the egg, which is also represented by the number 0, and that represents the not only the egg, but the seeds in the egg, and that also represents the womb, and that contains all potential. So knowing that you have unlimited potential, you can be anything that you want to be. You are that potential. Your soul is that potential. Your soul is that seed. So it's really knowing that your soul has all this potential, and this time is about fulfilling your purpose. Aries is the season about new starts and new beginnings. So we're supposed to have a new start and a new beginning. This is when you're supposed to be doing your New Year's resolutions. This is when you're supposed to be understanding that this is the feminine new year. The masculine new year is in Capricorn season, and it's nothing wrong with that, because you are starting to release and let go of things during that time. That's a season of dead things, and you're analyzing what's dead in your life, what's dead weight, and you're letting go of those things. So yes, it is still a new year for you to deal with things you need to let go of. But when you get to the feminine new year, these are the things that you want to grow. These are the new seeds you want to plant. This is the new beginning for yourself. This is time for rebirth and creation. And what they want you to create is a pandemic and pandemonium. All right. So instead of feeding into that, take control of your own mental and your own mind, your own emotions, and create what you want to create. Okay, so this is a balance of your masculine and feminine energy. They even talk about the cosmic egg contains a balance of male and female right here. Male and female, light and dark, in the egg yolk and the egg white. All right, that's the sun and the moon. That's the god and the goddess. All right. So let's know where these things come from, and let's utilize these energies to benefit ourselves. The stronger your mind is, and the more balanced your emotions, and you realize your emotions are a tool for you to utilize, and they're not a bad thing. Those emotions, if used properly, can help you create whatever you want to create in this dream. All right. Now, I had posted this on my Instagram from this Facebook, Natural Shamans Facebook, and they did an image of the female reproductive system, and this being the fallopian tubes, the fundus of the uterus. You see the V shape, the V pattern, the vagina also representing the woman's womb, all right, where your uterus is. And then we have the ovaries right here on the sides. We have some other things as well, and this is the vagina, the cervix. Okay, and then if you look to the right hand side, you see the ram, and you see that the ancients utilized the ram as a symbol for the female reproductive system because it actually represents the female reproductive system. It is a way of seeing the correlation between how everything is everything. All right, how we're not separate from anything. All right, even the shapes of the animals still coinciding with the human body. Okay, and then also it correlates with new beginnings. All right, with fertility. So it says the ram, a shamanic power animal, represents the pre-ovulation phase of the menstrual cycle, springtime, symbolic of Aries, new beginnings, fertility, energy, power, Mars, and the god of war. Know that Mars is not just the god of war. Mars is also dealing with passion. All right, and passion sits in your sacral chakra. Creativity sits in your sacral chakra, which also deals with that Mars energy as well. All right, so that's dealing with the ovaries, where the generative force lies, where energy is stored, your chi energy is stored, where life force energy lives. Okay, so this is masculine within the feminine, Mars within the divine feminine aspect. This is the womb represents feminine energy, but the shape is showing you that there is masculine within the feminine, and there is feminine within the masculine. All right. It also deals with wild women, creation, traits. It deals with this pioneering, being fearless, being strong, adventurous, confident, and protecting. So this is about having confidence in self. This is about courage. This is about pioneering, being a pioneer and creating something new. This is about being strong and adventurous. This is a time for being protective of your energy. All right. This is a time that we're supposed to be stepping into greatness, not fear. All right. And one of the last things I want to share with you guys is Bobby Hemmett did a great lesson called The Metaphysics of Sex, where he actually breaks down the benefits of sex and the alchemy of it and what it creates. He gives you the science and the alchemy of it. And so it's a great video for you to check out. You can see that I've already watched it. It's one of those videos I think Brother Panic brought up in one of his last lectures that he did, the one he did in New Orleans, and he was talking about the metaphysics of sex. So it's a great one to look at, so you can actually educate yourself as to why this is a great time for you to be with your partner. So the last thing that I want to talk about is the correlation with the spiritual side of the corona and what it's doing on a spiritual level. So on a spiritual level, it is about going inward. So you'll notice how a lot of people are having to work from home. People are being told not to come to work for an indefinite amount of time. People are being told not to come to school, so your children are not going to school. And this is pre-K to the 12th grade. And this is also dealing with college students, because my nephew got sent home as well, and they having to do classes online. So they're calling it social distancing. So they're trying to it looks like, you know, put a curfew on people, tell people to stay in the house, quarantine you, and all these things. So that is the physical end of them trying to put people in a box, putting you in a house, putting you in these four walls, containing you into one place and one spot, and you not getting out there and connecting with others. And we're in the age of Aquarius, when we're supposed to be doing group activities, connecting with other people. And we do have social media for that, because Aquarius also deals with technology. So people, instead of social distancing, they're connecting still through the internet. So people are still doing that. However, another aspect of that is your children having to stay at home. So that's dealing with that Four of Hearts energy. That Four of Hearts energy is dealing with the ancestors, is dealing with family, is dealing with your roots. So people are having to connect back with their roots, and they're having to mend their root chakra and mend their roots. So remember I showed you the rose, that the lotus or the petal, and that dealing with the Kunti energy and dealing with your root chakra. So you're having to connect with your roots, having to mend things in your own root chakra, and also mend things physically with the people around you, your family, your children, and build a better relationship. So you should be, that's some beautiful things you should be working on in this Four of Hearts year, in this 2020 year, which is also dealing with the heart chakra and the root chakra as well. And it's also dealing with the heart chakra and the head as well. All right. The balance of the two, balancing the scales, balancing everything within yourself. All right. This is also dealing with, this energy is dealing with going inward. So you should be doing meditations. You should be asking yourself, what is your soul's purpose? What are you supposed to be doing? You should be working on aligning your heart and your mind, so that you can manifest what you really want to do in this life, and you can go out and do it, and go out and get it. And you know what I'm saying? And the energy is set up so that if you are not falling into the bullshit, you can manifest your dreams and your into this physical reality. All right, so that's a big thing that they don't want you to do. Like I said, this is a time to create. This is a time to be utilizing sex magic. Shout out Bobby Hammond again for the metaphysics of sex. This is time for you to be utilizing your emotions, your musical notes in the center of your body, to create the reality that you want to create, and also to create the environment inside so that it reflects on the outside. This is a time to work on you and to work on all of your relationships as well. This is a time to go inward, y'all. So that quarantine on a physical level is, yes, they're trying to close people in a box. On a spiritual level, it is the spirits, your ancestors. This is the all the light beings that are trying to help people get out of that human mindset of self-destruction and the ego, and to go inward and find your true self. So on a spiritual level, it's time to go in and find your true self. It's time to mend yourself. It's time to put yourself back together. It's time to really deal with your own self and deal with your mind and your thoughts and your emotions, y'all. So this is time to get to that point. And for those who have already been doing that, this is a time for Kundalini awakening and rising. I literally had my first Kundalini rising a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was sleeping, and in my dream, I seem in that bathroom, I always seem to have like really deep ass experiences in the bathroom, y'all. But in my dream, I was sitting in the bathroom. This was like a lucid dream. I was sitting in the bathroom, and that was the place I would go to cry when I was younger about my life. And I'll be really emotional and asking, you know, God, why I was put here. I didn't understand why I was put here to suffer. I wasn't getting it, and I was a child. So I would go in there crying. So it makes sense as to why I go there, because I open up a portal in that area. Let's know that all doors, windows, they lead to a pathway to a portal. It's a doorway to a portal. Whole nother story. Anyways, so I was just sitting on the toilet, not using it, but sitting on it. like I used to when I was younger, and I started having a kundalini rising. It was darkness all around, and I saw this blue light. So the kundalini energy is supposed to be like a blue flame. Blue flame, shout out Blue Flame in Atlanta. It's actually a strip club. Goodness. So I saw a blue flame in my body. All right. And this blue flame was rising. And then I remember telling myself, or hearing a voice saying, just let it go, let it flow. I'm not even certain if it was my own voice, or this voice that you're hearing. It most likely was my soul. Let it go and let it flow. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing to fear. Let it go and let it flow. And then I wind up waking up and feeling it, you know, having like the shakes or whatever, like this uncontrolled sensation. It felt amazing. However, it was an uncontrolled sensation. So that was my kundalini rising, because I've gotten my chakras in an alignment, and I've cleared these blockages. So my kundalini was able to go straight up without me working for it. Because before I got to this point, I was trying to force it to happen, and I kept feeling like physical pain in my head and stuff, because it wasn't time to do that. I had blockages that I had to deal with. So for those who have not done the work, this is the time to start dealing with your emotions and those blockages and clearing out stagnant energy. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video on that note. I definitely wanted to make sure that I touched on these things, because it's very important for us to really start connecting with others. It's imperative, and it's important for us to start connecting with our inner selves. Okay. So like I said, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I know this is a lengthy video. However, it's very much worth it when we're talking about the spiritual impact and what we're really being guided and led to do. Is very, 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 very spiritual. I see I got on my chakra earrings. But that is a very spiritual thing. This is not a joke. This is not something to be taken lightly, you know. However, you still want to have fun with it. Like, you don't want to take everything so serious, but you definitely want to know that your spiritual journey is something that you should care about. And that's what it's telling us to do. Get in tune with your heart, get in tune with your mind, listen to how listen to your feelings, and respect them. All right. Respect your crystals, respect all the energy around you, and knowing that God flows through it, the spirit flows through everything, and try to find your connection with all these things. All right. So I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I really do. I love you. And I am going to do a video of dealing with some of the things that you can do in order to balance your respiratory system, your immune system, and things of that nature. So peace, guys.